Hi everybody. Okay, we are here in San Marcos, Texas, and I'm with my new friend Jamie. She is with My Grief Plants, and so we're gonna get griefy with you all today. I hope you're ready. Tell us a little bit about walking through what you've walked through.
Yes.
And you can share as much or as little as you want.
Okay. So, I guess originally my grief kind of starts with my dad being in a motorcycle accident back in 2005. And he passed 3 years later just from complications from that. And really I thought, this is the hardest thing I've ever been through. It's gonna end here. But that really kind of pushed my mom in her own mental health forward and outward. And cut to, I don't know how, like 10 years later, additional loss, her passing from suicide and taking her own life because of her struggles that she couldn't kind of get a handle on, really sent me into the grief space that I've been working to crawl myself out of. I guess a grief hole, if you will.
Well, if there's one guarantee, is like none of us get through this life without having to experience grief. And one of the things we talked about was that we don't really have this conversation. So when my mom passed not quite 2 years ago, and then I lost two other significant people in my life, like I had to find those people that were talking about grief, or actually I think we were talking inside, like they found me.
A really big thing is that I saw that with my dad's passing, of the people that you kind of expect to be there aren't always the people that sit with you in your sadness. Not everybody has that capability, and those people that come to you are kind of like your angels, I guess.
Yeah, I will say prior to losing my mom, I didn't have that capability. When I had friends who lost somebody, I didn't have a reference point for what that felt like, and so I didn't know how to step into that pain with them, and so I didn't even do it messy. I just didn't do it. And I'll probably have a whole lot of people to apologize to. So who's your circle? I want to know who they are.
So I would say, there's a lot of them, but I feel like the most beautiful thing that happened was when my mom did pass away, and everyone would say, or in those first few hours, what can I do? And I just told them, can you tell this person? Can you, and literally, everyone that asked me what they could do, I was like, can you please, let them know what's going on? Because I knew at the core that, I needed them, but I couldn't ask them to show up for me. And so, my friend Carrie was like, do you need anything? Do you want me to come over? And I was like, no, it's fine. I'm just gonna, and she kind of took it. And my friend Megan also was like, what can I do? She's been my best friend since we were 13 and now lives in Texas. And the people that are in your circle, you don't need to tell them. We kind of touched base with that. They just show up.
Let's talk a little bit about, because I want to give you guys some practical things to do in your circles. What can people do?
There's 3 major things that you can do, I feel. I feel like the first one is keep showing up, because in the beginning there is an overload of support. And someone said to me, my best friend Kelsey, her mom wrote this in a card, and she's like, it's not once everybody goes home, that's when the pain, really things kick in, and you're like, okay, now I have to do this. But still checking in. So, and if you haven't heard from that person, don't take it personally, because it's not you. They need, if you haven't heard from them, check in, even if it's just a text, even if it's just a card in the mail, show up in that way. And don't ask what you can do, even though you think that's what can I do? It's literally, it's the last thing that I want to...
I don't think I knew what I needed. Most of the time.
You just need people to show up. And I think something that it makes them uncomfortable because they're not sure, but especially if they're not comfortable with being around someone who is crying, or that makes them uncomfortable, is I think always, just asking, like, can you handle this? Can you bear this burden of this conversation? I need you to take this off of me. And talking about their person, because that never hurts. Like, we never forget that they're gone. We think about it all the time, you know?
All the time.
And I actually posted about this a couple of days ago. It was a journal prompt of, like, what is something that your person that you've lost, like, what would make them laugh, or what would they do to make you laugh? And when I read it, I was like, of course I need to do this too. Like, you know, it's important that I'm doing the work as well. And my heart, like, immediately, like, tightened, because I didn't know if I was ready to remember, like, the good times. I didn't know if I was ready to remember that, of, like, that lighter side of things, because that is also pain, because it's like, those are good memories that you aren't going to make any more of, and they're the only memories that you have.
Yeah.
So I think talking about that, and like, offering the space for someone to completely just lose their shit. Is that okay?
You can say that.
I think that's really important, because we're already judging ourselves for feeling so much, that if people just allow you to, like, completely lose it,
that's when you know you have a real friend.
Yeah.
When they call you up and you're like, I'm in my closet losing it right now. Those are your people. They're
gonna come over and they're gonna sit with you in the closet, or they're gonna, you know, get you out of it.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important that you brought up the fact that, like, not that we're ruminating on it all the time, but we're never not, like, you're not going to bring up my mom, and I'm not going to, like, and I'm going to be mad that you brought her up because I wasn't thinking about her. Like, I'm thinking about her all the time.
Yeah.
And about my cousin Emerson and my Uncle Gene. Like, I'm just thinking about these people all the time. And I think one of the things that I've started doing that I never did before was writing down death anniversaries.
Yes.
And so that I can reach out to people. And then because nothing means more than somebody reaching out in June and being like, hey, I know this is a hard month for you. And so I've started doing that. And it's opened up some really sweet times, just remembering those days.
I think that's
because it's hard to
friend too.
Yeah.
Like, that's what friendship is remembering important things. And when you get something in the mail, or you, like, they remember something that you thought, who remembers that? That makes you feel important, because you're like, oh, they do know me, they do, like, care about me, they remember.
Tell them about your online community and what you do for people.
The idea behind, like, the plants part is that ultimately your grief can really drag you down into a really dark place, and I didn't want to stay in that dark place, and I kind of just kept having this vision of myself being underground. And at that point I saw, like a pin drop of light, and I was like, okay, I've been planted. And so the idea really came from, what has my grief planted? And at that point, I was just not I didn't recognize myself anymore. I just was on the flip side of the version of myself that I knew, the positive side, the happy, the laughing. Like, that person didn't exist then in that time, and that's something that I wanted to, like, ultimately get back to. So again, I just kept praying, and I know that God is going to help me to use this loss and this pain for something good, because it has to. And I don't know, beyond that, it just like formed. Like I remember having that like vision or dream, or I remember physically seeing myself like underground, like dark, with a little pin drop of light. And so I just felt like I am planted. And so all these negative things that I was feeling, or I guess not necessarily negative, but the flip side, because all emotions are good and beneficial. Like we need both to have balance. But that was what planted me. And that choice of, I could stay here and this could be where I live, and nothing ever, no light ever comes back in, or I could keep rooting down and really reach towards that light. And so that's kind of how it started. And then
bereavement boxes, which I'm gonna just take this one home, but I want to show you guys what's in it, because really, like, the healing starts after the funeral is over and people have stopped dropping off meals. Like, that's when, and the house gets quiet. Like, that's when I think this would have been beautiful to have. There we go.
Yep.
But it's just, so how did you come up with this idea? And there's just like little gifts in here, a little journal. Oh, and what'd you call the paper? Seed paper?
Yeah, it's wildflower seed paper.
So you can, after you write in your journal, you can plant it and it will grow. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah, so ultimately, I just kind of, a lot of the stuff that's in here are things that I utilized while I was going through it, and just felt like, okay, yes, like this was something that helped me. So
I love it that the tea you included is called Cup of Sunshine.
Yeah.
And then a little thing of honey, which is Bee Harmony honey, and a little honey scoop.
And then the conscious, yes. Okay, so this is these bath bombs, Conscious Goods. So this is their Healing Waters bath bomb. Casey, she is an amazing woman out of Austin. I love her.
Then these little pocket mantras, which I haven't opened yet. Pick a card or pick a bunch.
Oh yeah.
Focus on them. Anyway,
so
who is Stevie Nelson? I know you were telling me inside.
Oh, so she's out of Los Angeles, but she is an actress and an artist, and she does a bunch of abstract art, and this is her like offering. So I love the healing aspects of art. I love that you can just keep these. I keep them in my car. I have a stash in my kitchen. I like occasionally will like put them on cars or like give them to people. Like, hey,
oh, these are so cute.
They're really, yeah.
I'm an original. So you obviously don't need these for.
I love
if you're going through grief. You could get these anytime.
Yeah.
This is, I love my body, and it's a pear, y'all. That's just okay.
So, and I think
well done,
too,
Stevie.
yeah, something to say is that, I started by calling this a bereavement box, and that's what it is. But ultimately, like, any loss, which is something I've found through this whole process, is like, you get divorced, you go through a breakup, you lose an animal, like, those are all things that have grief connected to them. Because
I can't believe we just have spent almost 3 hours together, and I don't. What was your mom's name? Julie. My mom's name was Linda, and we talked about that in our circles we can say their names and talk about their memories, and we hope that for you all, that when life gets griefy, that you have a circle of people that, one, come around you, but two, give you that space to talk about your person. So, love you guys.
Yes. We're gonna continue to normalize grief. Just talking about it.
We're just gonna talk about it. All right. You guys have an awesome day.